Hey everybody, welcome to Blacklist, the show where we interview the elite. Today we have Siria Gutiérrez to my right. We're going to dive into her story. We're going to dive into her business, a lot of that good stuff. But for people that don't know you, right, this is their first time listening in, who is Siria and what is it that you do?
That is such a great question. Thank you so much for having me here. I am Siria Gutiérrez. I'm a multi-passionate high-performance leadership coach.
Yep.
I am also a personal injury attorney here in Las Vegas.
Nice.
I've been practicing law for the last 14 years. I'm a speaker. I'm a writer. I'm also a podcaster
Yeah.
and content creator. And just overall, I would say a multi-passionate queen is where I'm at today.
I mean, you wear a lot of hats, you
I
know.
do.
Nice. So which one are you more passionate about?
You know, that's a great question. And first, I was going to say the nonprofit I'm working on. I'll talk about that a little bit more. But I really think what I'm most passionate about is the ability to help people in many different spheres, whether that's in coaching, whether that's through the personal injury work that I'm doing, or now the nonprofit where I'm going to be helping Latinx individuals with their health, wealth, and financial wellness.
Yeah. And why take up the nonprofit route? Because, I'm not too familiar with the space. But to me, when I hear nonprofit as an entrepreneur, I hear no money. I hear, like no impact. But I could be wrong. Like, why did you end up taking that nonprofit route?
Well, it's a very new project. And I think the bigger thing for me is that a lot of people have that conception, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing a nonprofit, it means you're not making money. Actually, that's not true at all. Very successful nonprofits can make a lot of money. And what I like about that is the collective of what comes in doesn't inure to the board, but it stays for the benefit of the people who you're trying to serve.
Yeah.
And so I think that for me is the appeal of knowing, yes, I can do this. It can be run like a profit business. That's really the key of trying to make sure that you are running it like a regular business, and just knowing that there's different rules, there's going to be different tax implications and things like that that are going to play into how you do it. So for me, it was really about being able to make sure that what I get to put in goes back to the people I want to be serving.
And who are the people that you want to be serving, and what exactly will the nonprofit be doing?
So the nonprofit is the Latinx Leadership League. It is designed to help Latinx individuals. And I know people don't like that term. Like,
what is Latinx?
Thank you for asking. Latinx is the newer way I think Gen Z is really taking the debate between Hispanic, Latino, Latina, and they've put an X in there, and it's supposed to be gender neutral. But for me, the X is really about the intersectionality of all of the different things that we have. I'm talking about serving first-gen individuals. I'm talking about serving women of color, people of color overall, people who are coming to this country and maybe don't understand all of the different rules and systems that we have in place, which is why I actually had to go to law school, because I learned all of that.
Yeah. And okay, so how long have you been here in Vegas?
I got here in 2005 after I graduated from UCLA. So I've been here for a minute.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure you've seen all of Vegas during the pandemic, during it kind of going back up, things like that. During the pandemic, did any of your businesses kind of like shut down for a little bit? Did the personal injury stuff slow down? How was that for you?
The pandemic was such an interesting space here in the state of Nevada because we actually only shut down lockdown for about 2 months. And then we were told, get back to work. Casinos need to open up again. We need to do these things. But what was really interesting was as things were shutting down, I remember driving and watching them put up the boards on the Bellagio doors.
Yeah.
And just seeing people as I was making my commute across the strip every day at that point, and not seeing people walking. It was so bizarre to be driving and not seeing tourists everywhere and seeing things boarded up. Like, I've never seen the city like that. And then little by little, it started getting more active and seeing people, gambling with their masks on. It's like, oh, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So you didn't see like any slowdown then via business?
There was slowdown in the personal injury world because people weren't out. People weren't getting into car accidents, which is probably a good thing, right?
Yeah.
People weren't at places where you could slip and fall. So there is definitely an impact to the industry overall, but now we're seeing other things that have come up, including like nursing home abuse, other really just gnarly things that happened during the pandemic. That's what you actually need personal injury attorneys for, to be able to right some of those wrongs.
So I'm not too familiar. Walk me through that. Like, how would like nursing home abuse, that would fall under personal injury?
Yes.
Okay. And how does that work? Like, is it like, for example, if I have my grandma at a nursing home, the abuser, we catch it on camera, like we would go to somebody like you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You would go to somebody much more qualified than me in the nursing home because it is a specialized area.
Yeah.
So one of my dear friends was just named the top trial attorney in California, Jody Moore, because of her work in nursing home work last year.
Yeah.
And she got like a huge epic verdict and just amazing stuff. She did it with a team of other female attorneys, which is really cool. And yeah, so when you start seeing people who get injured because they're being neglected, they're being left in their own feces, they're not being fed, maybe they have an injury, they're not supposed to be walking around unsupervised. There's so many different things. And I think personal injury attorneys in particular get such a bad rap because, you know, they only see one type of attorney out there, especially in our society and in our little microcosm here in Las Vegas. And they think, well, it's all just car accidents. It's like, or they think the McDonald's case, they bring that up. They go, oh, it's all the McDonald's case. It's hot coffee. Like, of course it's good. It's like, actually, when you look at the pictures and when you actually look to see what is being alleged and what's being fought, personal injury attorneys were, let me say that again. Personal injury attorneys are unsung, I don't want to say heroes, but we need better PR.
Yeah.
Is what I've been telling my colleagues. It's like we need to do better so that the public can see the benefits that there are of having someone who can actually navigate the legal system with you and for you.
Yeah. One thing that I like about you is the fact that you're multifaceted. Like you said, you're multi-passionate. And I think there's a lot of stigma around that where it's like, okay, if you're going to do something, you have to go all in on that one thing and that one thing only. If you do too many things, there's sayings about being a jack of all trades or things like that, right? Why are you okay with being multi-passionate, and why should others feel okay also being multi-passionate?
Oh, thank you so much for that question. Being multi-passionate is definitely frowned upon in our society, right? They want you to go into a specialist box. And that's actually what I did with becoming an attorney. I said, okay, well, that's the route that I need to do. And the problem for me with that was realizing the more I tried to just stay in this box, the more miserable I was. And it was impacting my mental health. It was impacting my ability to really represent my clients and to just be a good, wholehearted person. And I think that oftentimes when we're told, be a specialist, only focus on the one thing, it is encouraging us to cut off parts of our personality, cut off parts of our brain. Like you can't be creative anymore. And for me, that was a big struggle, which the pandemic actually helped me get back to, was my creativity. And I'm such a better person and better attorney because of it, because I'm able to be a full realized person as opposed to just the caricature of myself of I only do one thing. It's like, well, that's not how I'm built. And I think that more people need to allow themselves to be multifaceted if that's something that they want. My partner, he's an engineer. He loves doing one thing. He could eat the same lunch every single day for the rest of his life. Like before we met, he would do that. I was like, really? You would eat tuna sandwiches like all the time? Like why? Yeah, I like the variety. It is more authentic to who I am. And they've actually done a lot of research on showing that generalists have a better way of connecting different areas and different industries, which is actually how the nonprofit came to be. I realized all of my experience, all of the work that I've done with being a volunteer in nonprofits, with networking groups, with being involved in the Latino community, all of these things coming together is because I am multi-passionate and I'm able to explore all of these different areas. If I was just doing the one thing, I don't think the pathways would have connected in my brain to say, no, this is the thing. This is the thing we need to do.
And you probably wouldn't have made it as much of an impact, as like you're making now. So you need both is basically what you're saying. It's like you need generalists and you also need specialists. Because
absolutely.
Without that, if everybody was just a specialist, it's like, there wouldn't really be anything. So I like that. It's like they're trying to fit you into, they're trying to mold you into like this one thing, right? Mm-hmm. So for people that are listening, and you have a lot of things that you want to be able to do, it's your life. You get to live it. You get to go ahead and kind of move forward with doing all those things, right? Now, I think the hard part is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but because you do a lot of things, does it mean that any one of those things lack at any moment?
I was reading an entrepreneur book recently, and it's like, you pick pick three things, right? You can be good, you can be quality, or you could be
Oh yeah,
cheap,
yeah.
right?
I've
Like I
heard
think
that. Yep.
those three things. It's kind of true, right? Like you have to decide which ones you want to do. For me, the biggest thing is, am I aligned with my values? Am I doing what I say I'm going to do? If I tell a client I'm going to do something, am I doing that? I'm fortunate that my legal clients and my coaching clients understand that I'm wearing both hats. I don't try to hide it. I think that when people try to hide the other things that they're doing, uh, the element of shame gets in there that
Right.
doesn't make any sense to have, because this is what I'm doing. I am a wellness advocate, a mental health advocate in particular for the legal field, and my clients need to know, like, I'm doing all of these different things, and so there might be some other delays that can happen. And what I tell them from the very beginning is, there are places that will answer your phone 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
There are also attorneys who will take your phone call at any time because they're getting paid $500 an hour to do that.
Yeah.
If you want that, that is fine. I will give you a referral to find that. That is not what you're going to get with me. I have automations in place. I was able to hire my legal assistant that I'm so happy to have her on board to be able to make sure that more things are happening in that space. But they all know, if they see me on social media doing things, it's because that's part of how I live my life. And I think my clients actually appreciate that transparency and honesty, as opposed to me trying to hide the fact that I'm speaking on stages, that I'm traveling to speak, or that I'm doing something like this during the middle of the week. I'm like, this is so cool, being able to enjoy all of these things, because a long time ago, this type of life I thought was high in the sky, apple pie dream life.
Yeah.
I could never do it. And when I realized, holy crap, I'm doing it. I'm enjoying everything that I do, and I have so much variety. Like, that to me is just living my values and presenting the world, hey, these are the things that I value. You're going to look at my stuff, you're going to be able to see, oh, she values mental health, she values rest, she values play, being fun, doing things that are creative, and she's also fucking wicked smart. So
yeah.
sorry, I don't know if I can swear on this podcast, but
No, that's good. And I think oftentimes, like, if you do hire an attorney that's like, that'll pick up all the time, like sometimes, and this is just my opinion, but like I feel like they're not productive, because if they're not scheduling time where to be on calls and then also like do their work, it's like, if you're always available on call, it's like, oh, I don't know if you have the capacity to help me and help a lot of others, because you could be spread very, very thin throughout the day if you're just constantly on calls and speaking to clients and doing things like that.
I think you're absolutely right with that, because there is something about the flex of, I'm always available, right?
Right.
That's not a flex to me.
No.
That just tells me you have no boundaries, and that you don't know how important rest is for your cognitive health, for your mental health, for your overall well-being as a human being. Like, the fact that you operate on 4 hours of sleep is not a flex.
No, it's not.
It is not a flex, and it is not good for any entrepreneur to be doing that kind of stuff and making themselves that available, which is something that I teach my coaching clients, who are primarily attorneys or small business owners, and showing them, every single time you say yes to something, that means that you're saying no to something else.
Yeah.
What's that something else?
That's
Family
true.
time, your rest, your ability to actually get recharged in a meaningful way to do the work that you want to be doing.
And when did you learn that for yourself?
Oh gosh, I learned that in the last couple of years. The pandemic was definitely a huge turning point for me, but I think it started more when I actually started going to therapy. I'm very open about that. I started going to therapy in 2017 after I had a major panic attack, and started realizing, holy crap, like, work is not making me fulfilled. What's wrong?
Yeah.
And I went into therapy like, okay, let's fix this. Like, I can't do anything else. I have to be a lawyer. I've got student loans. I have to do this stuff.
Right.
And once I realized, actually, that's not true. I can do things in a different way, even if I haven't seen it done before. I think that's the beautiful thing about having that entrepreneurial mindset, is you can do things differently.
And I think, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I also go to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not currently going, but like, you don't just go to therapy to like, for example, you still go to therapy or no?
I graduated therapy last year. It was pretty amazing.
Nice. Well, for me, it's like, you go to therapy to also grow. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're not perfect. Initially I went because obviously I was having issues, but as you continue, it's like it's kind of like a coach. Like, you continue to get coached so you can get better, not so So you don't regress, basically, right?
Exactly.
And I think there's a big stigma that, like, oh, if you go to therapy, like, you're either mentally weak or something is going on or whatever. But, I mean, you can attest to this. I can attest to this. It's like, no, like, sometimes you just they're just another version of a coach, but
Exactly.
for something else, for your emotions, for your mental health, like things like that.
But I love what you said about not being in therapy right now, because I think one of the misconceptions that people have is that you're going to be in therapy for the rest of your life.
Right.
You're not. And I went through seasons where it was like, okay, well, I'm going to go into maintenance. And then I would go maybe once a month just to have someone who isn't my partner, isn't my best friend, having to carry that emotional load of whatever crap I was dealing with, having a professional there.
Yeah.
What I know now is it is a tool, just like coaching.
Yeah.
If you have a coach telling you can't do things without me, get another coach.
100%.
Like, that is not the right person. Same thing with a therapist. If they're saying you can't live your life without them, get another person, because they're supposed to be teaching you how you want to live your life, not, okay, here are all the things that you need to be doing. It's another tool. So I know if I'm going through a really rough patch, I can always go back and find a therapist.
Yeah.
It is a tool that I have in my toolbox, not a crutch that I'm going to need for the rest of my life.
Exactly. And I think that's super powerful, kind of like how you mentioned, you can always go back to one because like, hey, if something's going on, you get help. Like you get, and I think too many people are in misery, in silent misery, where they feel like they're going to get shunned if they do get help or things like that. But that's not true. That's not the case.
Yeah.
The way that I see it is like, if you want to learn golfing, like you get a golfing coach, they teach you, yada, yada. Like for me, it's the same thing with a therapist. Like if you're having some issues or you need something to work out through, and you don't want to like talk to your parents about it or somebody else, then you get a professional. That's what they're there for. That's how they help.
Exactly. And I've found I've had some clients that have done therapy, but they've gotten more out of the coaching because they don't really have a lot of stuff that they need to unpack. They don't have a trauma background.
Right.
They didn't have, a really crappy childhood or things like I do. And it's like, okay, great. That's okay. Let's go ahead and work on a coaching aspect and look forward to what it is that you want to be doing. And sometimes people do them in conjunction, or you just find other tools. Some people are like, I don't want to do that. So they'll do group coaching or group therapy. I mean, there's just so many different ways of doing it. The thing is that nobody teaches it.
Yeah, no, 100%. So with all the things that you're doing, what does the future look like for kind of you and all of those projects? Are you going to continue to have all of them? Are you going to add some more? Are you going to eliminate any? Like, what does that look like for you?
The immediate future has books coming out. I've got a couple books right now with an editor. I'm shopping around my memoir, which I'm really excited about.
Do you know the name of it yet or no?
My memoir is tentatively titled The American Dream Tax.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah. I'm very excited about that. So we'll see how that one goes. And it really talks about, memoir stuff, my childhood, being first generation, all of those things. And I've got a couple books that are in development, or I'm thinking about what way I want to go. So I think really being more in the author space is in the future to benefit the nonprofit, to benefit all of the different things that I'm doing. I think legal, to be perfectly frank, is probably the thing that my partner doesn't want me to say out loud or publicly, is the one thing that's probably going to come to an end in the next couple of years. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, you've been doing that for a while.
I have been doing it for a while.
Is there a reason why you're feeling like it's just...
I feel like it's a chapter that I've done very well, and that what I needed to learn here, I've learned. And so now it's time for me to apply that in different ways. And really with legal, even with coaching, right, one-on-one stuff, the impact is limited to that one person. Now, I'm not saying one-on-one stuff doesn't have value. It absolutely does. But the way I'm seeing my future is more of, what can I do to have a bigger impact on more people to help them get mental health tools? They're not hard. Journaling is not hard. Asking yourself powerful questions, that can be hard. You need a place to start. Same thing with financial wellness. Learning how to create a budget is not hard. Somebody's got to teach you, and you got to be willing to do that work, right? So I think really it's about saying no to this to be able to say yes to helping more people on a global scale.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for the future. That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
For people listening that are interested in, working with you, they heard this in its entirety. Where can people find you?
You can find me on a couple places. The first place is TikTok. I love TikTok. It's not just a lawyer underscore CIDIA, and you will see a lot of my mental health and other shenanigans on TikTok because it's TikTok. And the other place that I'll refer you to is Instagram. We built this CIDIA. It's just a little bit on that. If you're an '80s baby, you might recognize this song. So we built this CIDIA, SIRIA, for Instagram. Those two, I'm on the other socials as well, but those are the main ones that I would want people to go check out. I've got resources on my website as well, CIDIAGutierrez.com. Main thing though, check me out on the socials.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciated the opportunity.